welcome everyone to our Q&A stream with myself, Uilani, and Orael, the producers of Lasternia. We'll be answering the questions that you've submitted now and from when we were originally to stream. We might also have some time for extra questions from chat, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so we're going to be starting. We've split the questions that you've had into two major categories. There are the roadmap questions and the other questions, which I know that's a brilliant name for a second category. And before we get to the roadmap, there is an overarching question that we'd like to start with. Let's have a look at it. On the screen, Orael? There you go. What is your vision for Lasternia, and what kind of game do you actually see yourself running? So, Orael, would you start us off? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I mean, Listernia primarily is it's a conflict game, right? Like you have 6 different organizations, all with varying morals and themes and goals, vying themselves against each other, right? Like, and each city or commune has something that they're diametrically opposed to, that they're trying to become the best at, right? Like every org in general is trying to have their philosophy overtake the base it as a whole. So it's primarily a conflict game, right? And part of that being a conflict game and what's kind of driving our decisions and everything is ensuring that all of you feel like you can compete in that conflict. So whether it's like a time quake or a village revolt or aether bubble, I don't know what those are called, the bubble stuff, or domus or anything, aether flares. There it is. That you feel like you have the tools and the ability to compete and be competitive. So everything we kind of do is towards driving that conflict, and making sure you guys feel like you can compete. If that makes sense.
Could we do an OC announce in the game that we've started the live stream? That's a question from chat. I think we could do that. Okay, I'm gonna leave you to do that while I continue on. So in terms of vision, what has attracted me to Lasternia was first and foremost player agency. We have control, you have control over organizations, communes, cities, guilds. You set the tone and direction for something massive, something that is a large piece of what makes up the entire game. That attracted me as a player originally. Naturally, players can't just do whatever they like. For example, you can't turn Halifax into the party city, for example. But you have immense freedom within the lore guidelines set by the world itself. I think this extends to events where we try to give players as much agency as possible within the framework that we are able to provide. Naturally, there is never going to be ultimate freedom, for an endless string of reasons. Prep, resources, player ideas not always matching reality of the game, lore, but the goal is the same. And this is what will remain, freedom. And that's really my vision for the game. We provide you with the canvas and the tools, and you provide the art that is the game. If that sounds vague, that's probably because putting the vision into just a few words is nigh impossible. We want you to have multiple avenues for conflict so you can compete. We want you to have control over the direction of the organizations, including facing any consequences that this may incur. We want the game to have features that work regardless of how many hours a week you can play the game. And Lateria has always been welcoming to absolutely everyone, crafter, PvPer, role player, adventurer, you name it. Whatever hat you want to wear, ideally, I would see the game being able to provide that. So with our first question done, let's take a look at the roadmap, because that will be the first questions. Okay, so in terms of the roadmap, where we spend our resources on the roadmap largely depends on what will have the greatest impact on the player experience. We will keep going to that as an answer to many of today's questions. So I will repeat this again. Where we spend our resources largely depends on what will have the greatest impact, overall impact, on the player experience. For example, the economy. We have gotten to a point where the economy is unsustainable and it's an obstacle to player enjoyment of all the systems that are entwined with economy. That makes it a priority. However, that doesn't mean that we will never work on absolutely anything else. And it doesn't mean that we are not working on other things in between these big projects. Quite to the contrary, our team is constantly working on things large and small. But due to the nature of how we work behind the scenes, you might not be seeing that immediately. And some of what you see might, in fact, be in contradiction to what I said just a moment ago. That's mostly because there are many variables at play here. For example, our resources at any given moment. For example, that depends on the people we have available to do some work, the problems which might crop up or are brought to our attention, which may supersede in priorities something we are working on at the moment. And there's obviously also the fact that our team mostly consists of volunteers. So we're never going to be forcing our volunteers to work on something. We can ask them, ask for help in general, but where they dedicate their efforts, building, eventing, bug fixing, coding, that's really up to them. Frankly, we as producers are the only people that can be held accountable for something being or not being done. And our roadmap reflects that and what we realistically see happening. And we don't want to do our projects just half do them. We don't want to make promises to you that we can't follow through on. So everything else that happens outside of our roadmap is the gravy. So that said, we have two major things on our roadmap right now. Oriel, would you please? Let's start with economy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can take over this. So obviously, economy is the big thing that we have coming up, and we've been doing a lot of research into what how the economy functions currently, right? Because I think one of the biggest issues we ran into is that nobody really knows the nitty gritty of how especially with commodities, like how are commodities produced, how are they tied to each village, um, what are all the different commodity quests available out there. That information was all not really documented at all, um, and so we've spent a lot of time at this point having gone through all that information. So now we are familiar with how all the commodities are produced, which villages produce which commodity, how much of that they produce in a given month, how does that affect the tithing to each org that controls it, um, what are the different commodity quests, how are those available, all that stuff. And a lot of the stuff that we're finding is there's a lot of stuff that people know in general, right? But sometimes there's stuff that nobody knew about at all that's still in there.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so it's something we've spent a lot of time coming up on. So you know, I spent a lot of time recently too looking at gold and how gold's coming into the game and how kind of those kind of numbers too. So we've got a lot of research that's going on into how all this works. And ideally, you guys saw the forum threads where we were asking, what kind of goals should we be looking at when it comes to these changes that we want the economy, right? Should we focus on, should players be able to make income just being like a merchant or just being, you know, through the economy, I guess. And we pretty much had a big twist where there's some people who, they really want that. They want people to have that merchant play style, to be able to sit there and, sell things and have that be their role play. And on the other side, we have players that, they just want to, buy what they need and be done with it. They don't want to engage any more than they need to. They don't want to, there's a large discussion about the K stuff on the forums, and nobody likes that. It's a miserable mechanic that nobody wants. So we have to kind of figure out that balance between how do we make the economy something that some people can engage in and others can choose not to engage in it. So we're trying to figure out the balance. We have some ideas for it that I think are, they have potential, but we haven't hammered out everything exactly plans. And what I will tell you is that um, once we have those plans and what we kind of have like a roadmap for what we're going to do to the changes, like we'll bring that to you guys. We'll post on the forums, we'll make announcements, and we'll get your input in there. So it won't be something that's just thrown in your face. Like you'll get to have a say in what's coming up with it and what's going on with the economy. And I'm hoping that we can come to that good middle ground where the guys who they just want to go to the shop and buy what they need and keep it forever and be done with it can do so, and the other ones who want to engage and have that merchant lifestyle can do that as well. So that's what I'm kind of hoping that we could accomplish there. One of the other questions, what was this you?
The band-aids?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So I don't think we're going to be introducing any band-aids until we're done with economy, or rather we will not be temporarily fixing economy until we are done with it. Band-aids are generally more time than they're worth, especially because right now we know exactly how everything ticks. We've spent time researching it. We understand what's happening and we are analyzing it in real time now that we know how things are happening. So changing how that's taking place would really not be helpful to us seeing how any changes will be impacting that. And generally, it's just economy is on the table right now, not in half a year. So yes, we will not be looking at band-aids. That's basically the answer there.
Yeah, there's a question about the trade skill economy and goop stuff. That we're looking at that stuff too. I don't think we can do an economy rework without looking at how trades work and how they function within the game. I think that's definitely something we'll be considering as well. I think the reason I bring up villages and commodities and stuff is because I think that's the most pressing matter. As far as you guys are concerned, as the players are concerned, we've been talking about commodities for a year now, and I've always said that it wasn't the time to answer the question, but the time to answer the question is now. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, commodities are probably the most pressing thing, but we will be looking at trade skills, shops, villages, potentially governments, because there's a commercial government, and how that all works together to move the economy forward. So.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's not just commodities. There's definitely more on the table. This is just something that we spend the most time researching as it impacts the most systems relating to economy. Okay, so shall we move on to the next one?
Yep.
To the next thing on our roadmap? Okay, so the next thing on the roadmap is conflict. And part of that is ascension. So I'll start on that. We've been talking about ascension for quite a few months now, frankly, and we have quite a lot of options on the table. Pretty much every project you see us work on is something that the whole team weighs in on. Even if ultimately the work goes to a coder at the end of the day, everyone shares their thoughts and we have a lot of back and forth dissecting the ideas and seeing what might work, what won't. For this year, we decided to keep the current format, a final fight for the staff. However, we are tackling ascension-related problems twofold. We have already put in a lot of work to iron out the kinks causing a lot of lag, and we'll continue to work on that. That is the code side of the solution. The other side is that we are hoping to introduce some additional mechanics that will let a greater number of people get involved in the final fight, beyond just serving as insane meat shields on Astral, basically. The details are still being worked on, so you'll know when we know. But we are also looking at insanity and tweaks to the events leading up to that themselves, the challenges. And keeping the fight as is with addition is not the only solution we have on the table. There's definitely more for next year if how this year works out is not something we're satisfied with. We have some concrete plans for that, but we can't really share them yet because we want everyone to be on equal footing should it happen. And telling you anything would frankly let you start preparing. So that's that for Ascension at the moment.
Yeah, you know, the Ascension what we're looking at is kind of um, another look at the overall conflict mechanics that we have within Listonia, and that's kind of the other side of our roadmap there, right? So we're working on the economy, and then the other part's the conflict mechanics. And so part of what I want to look at conflict is potentially something like an alliance system that would allow us to make mechanical changes that would kind of help out alliances when they're not um, in good shape compared to the other side, right? One of the major issues of conflict is that one side can bring 20 people to a fight, and the other side can bring 10. And so we kind of want to implement ways for revolts and domus and um, any other kind of conflict mechanic that we can potentially have mechanics that can help alleviate some of those number problems. I mean, at the end of the day, numbers will always be an advantage, but if we can mitigate that somehow, that can only help. So, kind of looking at those conflict mechanics, and additionally, mechanics that are not so punishing to the losers is something else we want to look at. So, that's also on a roadmap as far as conflict mechanics go. I think that's as Uilani, or I'm sorry, I pronounce everything terribly, but as you said, you know, we kind of want to focus on those two big things and make sure they get done correctly before we move on to something else. So.
Yeah, definitely. That's the two things on our roadmap, and that's what we're focusing right now. When we're done with this, we'll be working on what is on for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at the other category. Okay, so time to pronounce some names wrong. I think that's a question from Erifael. Erifael, probably correct me if I'm wrong, please. The question is about families. So the code is daunting and terrible. Okay, so I have thoughts on that. When we talk about family code being awful, we don't mean that it's being held together by tape and glue, or that something was coded on a napkin and then faxed over to an actual monkey to push the commits. No, it's not like that. We're saying it's unfortunately very inflexible by design. In addition, it is a massive system and it interacts with many other systems in the game. So when making changes to family code, we could result in a butterfly effect, and undoing unforeseen changes would be extremely difficult due to how family trees work and all of that. So due to its size, it is true that before we send someone in to look at family code, like we've done not long ago, we give them a piece of chalk, to mark on the walls and tie a string around their waist so they can come back. But it's not terrible by any means. And so speaking of families, over the years, we have significantly improved the family system. We now have single parent adoptions, adoptions without the need for your spouse's approval. There's extra blood bonding at the first level of the family. And that's just some of the changes. There are still gaps, and obviously there are things that could be improved upon. So I'm not sure if we're talking here strictly about the family system itself or the family honor system, because that's connected but separate. And I think the honor system could definitely use the biggest improvements still. So that said, this project is not on our radar right now, and we can't commit to a definite time when we would be looking at it again. But so much work has been done through reports to improve this system. So I encourage you to address any immediate issues with families through that, including the honor system. So that's that for families. And no, we're not deleting families. Okay, so next up, veneration. Okay, so going back to what we had for the roadmap, something that would impact overall impact the largest amount of players positively. Veneration is not that. It's a good concept, and it's definitely not getting used as much as it could. But it's small. It's small in comparison to what we need to tackle first. We might definitely have a look at it in the future if needed, but it's nowhere near our radar right now. Anything to add on that?
No, I mean, no, I got nothing to add. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically where we are. This is why I mentioned with the roadmap that we're going to be coming back to trying to impact the largest subset of players and having the most influential changes for the largest player base possible first before we look at other things. And of course, there might still be changes to that if we get people who are working on that. But as I said, this may or may not happen.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
so the next,
promises.
yeah, exactly. So Ariel, again, the question regarding, is the mortal building system still intact? Yes, you can apply to become a mortal builder anytime. Though if you have a look at the start of help mortal builder, it's a bit misleading, so we'll change that. If you read further, it says you can apply anytime if you want to. So as for why you're not seeing more builder calls, this question was larger. I'm just kind of summarizing it here. Why you're not seeing is that we're still building. For example, we are building God realms, hierarch places, Orrery, Lyra, and so on. Most recently, the end zone. But we are doing less of that because we are focusing a lot of our time and effort on PRs and other admin duties. There are things which keep adding to our list of things to do, like, for example, festivals, holiday celebrations like Halloween, solstice, the gala, the Ascension Gala. They're all things that take time and focus. So we've cut back on building a little bit, but we are still working on it, and there are things that you can do if you apply to become a mortal builder. Also, in terms of building, we want to polish up some existing projects. We have a lot of areas which are almost done, basically. All the building on them is done, only the quests need finishing or testing or modernizing, frankly. And we also want to fix bugs in existing areas. So that's our priority before we start adding more areas. And finally, we also have the quest project, which involves adding quests to the system. So you can get daily credits for it and other things like that. And while doing that, we're also redoing and modernizing at least the intros to those quests. So it's clear how to begin, so you don't have to guess, especially for some older quests. And when all the quests are in the system, and we are like 44 honor quests from being done, there are extra steps for this project before it will be concluded. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we are closer to that stage. But quests are one of my favorite things about Lasternia, and I'm really excited for the options that we will have once everything is in the system and we can start expanding the system instead. So rather than focusing on straight up building, we're focusing on improving. That's that. Okay, what else do we have for questions? Guilds. Right. Okay, so this is something, specifically this question is talking about mechanical reasons to join a guild rather than roleplay reasons, because obviously those are still there. So I definitely agree that more could be done, and this problem slowly started from class flexing and then classes not being tied to guilds, and we slowly removed the reasons, the main reasons, the mechanical reasons for being in a guild, and did not exactly add new ones. So yes, we will definitely look at that at some point, but not immediately right now. And we will also be considering how new things interact with guilds while adding them. Yeah, Orael, anything to add here?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, right? Like, it's the best way to encourage people to join guilds is to give some mechanical benefits. So we have to figure out um, what kind of benefits would be worthwhile to add to guilds potentially, that aren't um, overly limiting too at the same time.
Hmm.
It's kind of a tough question to solve, but it's definitely something we want to encourage people to join guilds for sure. So it's something that we're constantly thinking about. I don't know if we'll ever have
Yeah.
guild artifacts, but we could definitely have rights. Guilds can have rights. I don't see any reason why not. Um, but
Yeah, that's true. That yeah, we can do more of that. Guild artifacts, rights. Yep, all of that basically. Guild beasts, more stalls. Actually, guilds can request signets, I believe, which is kind of like a stall. Yeah, I think only the Swarm has one right now. So that's something that exists too. And yeah, we can definitely keep expanding, keep adding on to that, because that's a big reason. Even if it doesn't seem like a big mechanical reason for guild artifacts or beasts or whatever, it's still a benefit. So that might encourage people to join up as well.
yeah, we could look at
Uh,
potentially like some cool RP items, right, for guilds to help
mhm.
flavor it up.
Yeah, guild beasts might be difficult because beasts are a beast to make, and making three per organization, yeah, that's a lot of beasts.
So
So that's like the least likely scenario there, but
yeah,
there's lots of other options still.
so
Okay, fashion is a benefit. Yes, exactly. Guilds should have fashion. Okay, so what's next?
so the any chance for the
Mm-hmm.
star map for the Celestines? I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Celestines revamp to be happening this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this goes back to what we've been saying the whole time, right? Like right now, our
Mm-hmm.
focus is economy and conflict, and we're not going to add anything else to that until we've wrapped up those items first. Um, we just want to make sure we're avoiding getting back into a situation where everybody's expecting, at one point we had like the researcher revamp, the meld revamp, the illusions revamp, and all this other stuff that just was never getting done. So we want to make sure that we're just staying focused on what our current project is and getting that out. Um, so there's no saying that I'm not going to promise that the Celestine revamp will happen this year. Um, you know, I think that there's some there's some help that could be done for Celestines, but I don't think they're in that dire straits that they need immediate attention. And that may not be a great answer that people want to hear. But you know,
But
it's something that we're
yeah.
willing to look at some point. Warriors on our start map too, and they're kind of the same situation. So um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So I think this also goes back to the roadmap and now star map, what the star map means for us. Basically, if we put something on the star map, it means, okay, we agree that this could use something extra, but the star map is there to take from as an example project for people who find the extra time to do this. And have the resources to do this, right? Because not everybody can just jump in and do a Celestine's revamp. So the star map is, yeah, okay, if we can, we'll do this, but we are definitely not committing to a timeline because, like Orael said a moment ago, we want to do things properly, correctly, finish them, and not finish and then have to go back in a year because everything is absolutely broken. That's not how we want to do things.
yeah, yeah. So pretty much, I mean, I know that people are really excited for working on Celestines and kind of revamping them. Um, but in general, it's just not on the cards at this point in time. So
Exactly. So I think from the questions, that's everything. Yeah.
yeah, are there any questions in the chat that people had that we can answer?
Well,
Uh,
let's see.
we do like to measure twice.
Let's see. I don't see any questions. If you guys have any questions, now's the time. Any honor quests on the horizon? You mean specifically new honor quests, I imagine. This ties to usually for something to have an honor quest, it needs to be a big addition. So we're talking area or something smaller than an area, but generally something that's an honor quest has to take ideally at least an hour of time to do. Obviously, that's not true for all quests, but that's kind of the guideline. If you're speedrunning it, it should take 40 minutes or so. So with that in mind, that's a big addition. Whether something is on the horizon, well, I can't tell you because that's what our volunteers are working on. Obviously, what I can say is that we're always working on new quests and new additions. So yes, hopefully, we'll see. Let's see, what other questions do we have here?
Timetable for Ascension. I think we're still planning on the summer time frame, right?
Yep, we have the contest probably in August, but we will be talking about that closer to the time when we have the dates and when we know we can definitely commit to those dates. But yeah, definitely summer. There were plans for adding any other offer group traders. That's really an economy question, whether or not we will be adding more traders or what we will be doing with that system. I don't think anything's set in stone right now.
Yeah,
Is it?
nothing's set in stone. I mean, ideally, we'd like to do. It seems like it's kind of an incomplete system, right? But we'll have to see how it fits into what our eventual plans for the economy are. I mean, I can likely,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just conjecture here, but likely either what's going to happen is we'll either add them and have all the trades have Aether trading, or we'll just be removing them all just for that consistency. So it's either like an all or nothing thing. So we'll kind of see what our plans come in when it comes down to that. So.
Okay. Let's see. Next question: is there a chance for other time zone gods? Well, is there a chance for other time zone players? Because I'm in CET, basically in Europe, so I barely see other people around, especially for roleplay, especially the people who would be interacting with me. We definitely have people from many time zones, and we have gods from many time zones too. So it really depends on when they can commit to interacting. And it also depends on when there's the most players around. For example, even if somebody is from a different time zone than the one where we have the most players, oftentimes they can't run events if there's not enough players to do something, right, in that time zone. So while we do have players and people spread throughout, for major things, it's generally in the one time zone. So the answer is yes and yes. We do and we will. Let's see. Can guilds request dweller-like beings instead of beasts? Yeah, I believe so. We've had such requests already. I would have to check. But dweller-like beings, yeah, we definitely had this in old guilds. I don't see why not right now. What about non-oran quests giving lines? Well, if something gives lines, it's an honor quest. Such as the fire spinner. Does fire spinner give a line? I will tell you in just a moment. From the great spreadsheet of all things.
Fire spinner has no line. No. So you're just asking if we're gonna make some quests into honor quests by giving them honors.
Oh yeah, it does. Oh, okay, that's what it means. Fire spinner is definitely a longer quest from what I recall, and it probably should have been an honor quest. On the list of things to do while doing the quest project, there's a whole list of things we would like to address. And I think that's actually on the list for this and a couple other quests that they should be honor quests but are not, or something is an honor quest but takes very little time to do. Obviously, we won't be stripping honors or anything like that, but they might be getting extra steps, or you might have to complete them 2 times to get the honors, something like that. Let's see what else is there. Uilani. Uilani, that's the name. Godiguch. And I assume that's a strong I. Igasho? Or maybe Igasho? Who the hell knows? I'm just guessing here. Orael, why don't you try?
Igashu is how I have always looked at it. But my way of pronouncing things is typically wrong, so if I'm saying it, it's probably wrong.
Okay, so that's a strong, okay, Igasho. Okay.
So you're supposed to know.
Yeah, I'm supposed to know. Okay, hold on. Let me hold all projects. I will get right on that. The pronunciation guide to Lasternia coming soon. Serendipity, Firespin has online. Yes, you're supposed to know. Yeah, okay. Ladantine. Ladantine? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay, so no other questions, I imagine then? Yeah, I agree. Exactly. You guys get right on that. You can submit help file edits. Okay, so let us get to the final reveal of our live stream today.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Did you want me to do it? I can do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so the one thing we want to let you guys know is probably coming up in a period of probably within 2 weeks or so. We're going to be launching our own official Discord channel. Somewhere where, the unofficial Discord channel is nice, but, we've had complaints about people not feeling welcome there. So we want to have a place that everybody feels welcome to come, welcome to participate. Everybody feels like they have access to us the same way that everybody else does. We'll be able to do some cool things, kind of like, the other IRE Discards do, by like linking the newbie channel, hopefully. And it'll just kind of be like a centralized place for everybody to come, talk about Listernia, do kind of Discordy things. So yeah, that's kind of our plan. You guys can come and debate how you pronounce Godiguch all you want. So
yes, there can be a Gooch channel as well. So we're still finalizing the rules because they need to be a tiny bit different, and we need more expansive rules also for our own benefit. So we know how the official Discord will work. Yeah, we should be able to do this in the next 2 weeks, like Orael said. And even though we will be adding the Discord, if somebody does not want to participate in that, they should not feel like everything will be happening on Discord. I mean, that's not how we're going to be working. That was never the intention, right? So even if you don't want to participate, your voice will be heard. We will still be having forum threads. We might ask some questions, but on Discord, but it's just never going to go straight into the game from whatever people set on Discord. That's just not going to be how that works.
Yeah. Yep. So hopefully it's something that you guys can all enjoy and have fun with, and we should be good.
The newbie integration should be nice, especially during downtimes when due to time zones. That should be definitely helpful.
Have anarchy.
So I think that's it for us.
Yeah. Unless there's any other questions that people want to get in before we call it a day. Hopefully you guys, I know some of those answers probably weren't what you were hoping to hear, but hopefully, it was informative, and you feeling good about the direction we're going.
And I hope you like how we're saying Godiguch. How else would you say this? Godi what? Gouch? Guch? I don't know.
like your own Discord bots, we'll have to discuss
Yeah.
it. I mean, it
Mm,
depends on what it does, I guess.
yeah, it's not right now a bring your own bot party, but okay. This is one of the things we have to discuss still. That's why it's not launching right this second. So that's going on the list. Yes, Yanir is not here, but we will forward the thanks.
The end zone area. Okay, so there's a question.
Mhm.
Uh, has the end zone area come out like you hoped or expected? I think for the most part, yes, it did, it has. Um, I think there was obviously some initial, given the scope of it and what it entails, there were some initial troubles with it. But I think I think it's fallen into something that people can enjoy and fall into something that people can have fun with and learn and it's more interesting I think than astral bashing for sure. And it's definitely something we can expand. So um, I hope you guys feel like it's a fun thing to participate in and do and enjoy overall. So
Yeah, it definitely feels like a much bigger challenge than just bashing mindlessly the same skills. There's definitely a strategy required. It's as close to MMOs as we can get, unless you would like to download the graphic pack that we keep on the server, but we're just not giving you. Okay, so thank you guys very much for joining us today. And as before, we know we will keep doing live streams as things come up. So we'll see you next time.
yep, thanks for coming everybody. Hope you enjoyed it and we will um, talk to you later I guess.